Welcome to GCSE Design and Technology at Budehaven. I'm going to spend a little bit of time going through the GCSE course to fill you in on some details. We will of course have our options evening that you can attend, and you can talk to teachers at any time through school. Please take in the information and feel free to ask any questions at the first opportunity. Thanks in advance for listening. Choosing your GCSE options is not easy. We fully appreciate that, and we want you to be happy with the choices you make. Have a look at the questions on this slide and consider how you might answer them. Of course, it might just be that you've really enjoyed DT from year 7 through to year 9, and you don't really like the idea of stopping. That could be a good reason to choose it. Obviously, remember that the course requires you to work, because we want you to get a good GCSE at the end of it, but provided you've got the motivation, it's a good reason to choose. Let's have a look at how the course is made up. It's graded on a 1 to 9 scale in the same way as all GCSEs, with a 9 being the highest grade. Half of the GCSE comes from a 2-hour written exam. It covers a lot of possible theory topics. The other half of the GCSE is known as an NEA, non-exam assessment. This used to be known as coursework, which allows students to work on the project over a long period of time. The core technical subject knowledge is something that is extremely important, because this allows students to know enough about the subject to pass the exam successfully at the end. When you wish to do your project, it can focus on a range of different areas such as graphics, resistant materials, electronics, and that allows you to play to your strengths. So if you were to choose GCSE DT, let's have a look at what you would do next September as a new Year 10 student. First of all, it would be really important that you cover a lot of theory topics so that your knowledge is strong. This means that when you do sit the written exam in June of Year 11, you can perform well. A lot of this work is done in an exercise book, some of it is computer based, and the idea is you're building up a really important revision resource. You then go on during this time to produce a minor design and make task. This allows you to put together a design folder, which is a thinned down version of the GCSE one to prepare you and get you used to the format. You also manufacture your prototype to the highest possible standard. The project most recently for this has involved designing and making an educational toy for a young child, like the ones you see here on the photograph. Let's break down the theory content of the course in a little bit more detail. The list here covers the main key topics. We've got new technologies, energy generation, materials, systems, mechanisms, manufacturing processes, applying maths, which accounts for 10% of the GCSE paper, production methods, product analysis, and iterative design, which involves designing in a loop rather than simply carrying out a linear process. This allows you to improve a product constantly throughout the designing stages, which is extremely important. If we now look at Year 11, the second half of the GCSE course, by this point you've built up quite a lot of knowledge. You're focusing quite heavily on your NEA, and your project by this point is already underway, having been started in June of Year 10. You'll need to design your product in thorough detail in order for it to be worth the best marks. As you go along, you're modelling and prototyping your ideas, and you're constantly making changes and improving. You're also getting feedback from others, which helps you to make the right design decisions. Half of your GCSE, remember, will come from this grade. This means, though, that you can earn half of your GCSE before you even enter an exam room at the end of Year 11, which is a huge advantage of this type of GCSE. Here are a few images of projects carried out by past Budehaven GCSE DT students. First we have a light, freestanding, quite large in size. The student's brief was to produce ambient lighting that would be soft and gentle and provide a really strong feature of a living space. We also had a student produce an automatic light, and this was a mixture of 3D printing and some wood turning work as well, so a good blend of traditional and very modern manufacturing methods. Another student produced some furniture of a slightly more traditional style using softwood and glass. And finally, an activity area for a pet hamster to use, which was a novel idea and very well executed. We're extremely fortunate at Budehaven to have really good advanced level manufacturing facilities. On this slide you can see some of the items we have. We've got a very large CNC router in one of our workshops further down the corridor, which we want GCSE students to have access to and use. We've also got 3D printing and of course laser cutting. These can all allow you to make prototypes that wouldn't have been possible years ago with more traditional methods. But of course you can still build in traditional methods as well. To be successful in your GCSE, it's really important to understand how you'll be assessed. Let's have a look at Year 10 first. The work you do in books to cover the theory topics will be monitored by your teacher very regularly. Written feedback will be given, so you can see how you're getting on, and suggestions for improvement. You'll then have improvement time within some of your lessons to add to that work and make it better still. Project work you do will be assessed section by section. Each section will have a certain number of marks available, and you'll be needing to get the highest marks you possibly can at each stage. You'll also be expected to improve your work here to make sure that you are working as a GCSE student should. To check your knowledge on a regular basis, we will also test and quiz you. This will be less formal. We might ask questions using whiteboards. We might ask questions where you're asked to think, share, pair. And these will be often slotted in at the beginning or the end of a lesson and will be based around exam type questions of varying types and lengths. In Year 11, your NEA task is assessed against the AQA mark scheme. It'll be very clear from the outset how many marks are available in each section, and the time and effort you spend on that will reflect this. As your work is monitored and you're given an indication of your marks, you'll be expected to carry out improvements so that when your final assessment takes place, your work is the best it can possibly be. You'll also have mock exams, and there will be one around about January time of Year 11 that will be quite a close comparison to the real exam in June of Year 11 and will allow you to see how you're performing. It will be really important that you take the mock exam seriously and you prepare yourself for it. Let's have a look at some of the styles of learning that we use. First of all, you'll carry out work that's teacher-led. This is slightly more traditional in its approach, where a theory topic may be explained to you and you will be required to make notes and record information. It will of course be interactive, so you'll have plenty of opportunity to ask questions and contribute to this. You'll also gather and record facts in more of a research sense, where you might use computers to find out information, and this will build up a revision resource that will be extremely valuable further on through the course. We use computers on a regular basis. Sometimes we might be gathering information, sometimes we might be developing a design using something like computer-aided design to actually present our work. Some learning needs to be independent. At GCSE, it's important that you learn to work off your own back and you carry out tasks in the best way possible. It's really important that at this stage you are being mature and focused and motivated to get that work done. Being practical is also, of course, really important for DT and a reason why lots of students wish to do it. The workshop facilities are there for you to use to make your product, and that can be extended outside of lessons through using lunchtimes and after-school sessions. It's actually really wise to do this because it allows you to have better access to tools and equipment and quiet, focused working time. So perhaps design and technology is a subject you're not totally sure about. Maybe you're considering it, but you don't know. What reasons might there be to choose it? Well, first of all, it does combine creativity and academic knowledge really well. You need to know the theory, but you also get to have control over products you design and make in a very unique way. Next, to do that, you get time in a practical environment. You're in a workshop, you're using tools and equipment and machinery. You're being trusted in a way that maybe isn't the case in Year 7, 8 and 9. That can be really refreshing after working in classroom-based subjects through your curriculum. The skills you learn, we like to think are lifelong. They're not just for your GCSE, they're practical skills that allow you to work with your hands that could lead to so many different careers and also set you up for life to make you more self-sufficient and save money. You can open the door to lots of careers further down the line. The UK design industry is extremely strong and has been for a long time. We're famous for it. Many UK designers work all around the world designing for major companies. This can be taken further at A level or even degree level in higher education. When you're designing and making products, you are shaping the future, and all the products around us that we use are designed and made by someone, somewhere. This will never stop. It is an absolutely huge industry within the UK and around the world. And finally, the figures. The creative industries generate more than £100 billion a year and employ more than 2 million people. That's just from our country alone. DT can also be taken further within Budehaven after Year 11. We offer an A-level in product design. This is also from AQA Exam Board. It's an excellent natural progression. The nature of work carried out on this is similar to GCSE, but higher level students have more time and focus to get into more depth. There's also more freedom with the designing and making. We've had lots of students do this course in the past, and they've gone on to be really successful. Many have worked in the design industry or even run their own companies. And the list here gives you some examples of the sort of careers it can lead to. And so that just about wraps up the information on this PowerPoint. Of course, you can't tell everything from watching this presentation for a few minutes, and these decisions are quite major. Please feel free to talk to any of your DT teachers. We're here to help you, and we all teach and know the GCSE course really well. We're also really firm believers in it. We believe our subject is extremely important and really enjoyable to do if students are motivated and keen to do well. I can be contacted on email on the address shown here. Any of us can be contacted through class charts, messages, and of course talk to us in person. We know where we are in school, and we're always happy to have a chat. Thanks very much for watching and listening, and we'll see you soon.